Hi, guys, and welcome to another Coffee and Heroes podcast. Once again, coming to you with our monthly preview show. This is a show where we go through the previews books, pick out the best of what we're looking forward to most, what's most deserving of your hard earned cash, point those out to you so you don't have to. But of course, if you do want to, the books are in store anytime you want to have a flick through. So, your host is always Alan, the owner of Coffee and Heroes in Belfast. Delighted as always to be joined by Mr. Keith Miller. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you. How are you? How's tricks?
Tricks are good. We're recording this on New Comic Book Day, the 31st of August. New Comic Book Day, always a good day for the store. Always busy, tons of great titles. And then, of course, we can take you through the best of the titles coming up soon. And we're trying this out slightly different this week, just so you know, just in case there's the odd awkward pause here and there. We were fortunate enough to interview Mr. Garth Ennis, no less, last week, and he very graciously allowed us to release the video to that. And we sort of thought we would release the video of some of our pod recordings just to make it easier. Whatever your preferred method is when it comes to getting this information, we thought we'd throw it out there. But you may have to put up with a few teething problems and maybe the odd scratch nose every so often, forgetting there's a camera there. So but yeah, as I say, this is where we go through the previews books. So, the previews books, of course, are separated into three separate books. You have the Marvel book, you have the DC book as well. DC book is also available at dcconnect.com. And then we have the main previews book, which is your big bad boy. So we always break it down. First of all, the books, the general impressions themselves. I mean, I usually lead off with DC being Mr. DC, of course. So if it's a DC book, of course, there's loads of Batman in there. There's a few new Batman titles coming out, continuation of the single issue Batman event, one more day as well, which is fantastic so far, I have to say. We've got Jeff Johns introducing a bit of classic DC, bringing back some of the Golden Age stuff, some of the original Justice Society stuff. Keith's a very happy man this month. There's Matthew Rosenberg taking over his own little corner of the DC universe, it would appear, with some 90s goodness. We'll go into more detail on that, of course. There's still some celebration for Superman. We're hitting the 30th anniversary of Superman at the death of Superman, obviously 1992. So there's some celebratory issues for that. We're also moving forward on bringing Clark back to Earth. So some the comics dealing with that. Some nice facsimiles as well. Facsimiles is something that are becoming more and more popular. It's the way people are getting some of these great issues at decent prices instead of being charged an arm and a leg on eBay. You've got your annual DC Christmas one shot, which has a great title, which of course we'll reveal. And I'll also tell you why you should cancel all your absolute orders for a certain title and pre-order this omnibus instead. And I'm not usually one to say get an omnibus instead of an absolute. But yeah, pretty packed month for DC. There's tons of still great continuing titles as well. But yeah, there'll be a couple of other graphic novels we'll get into as well. So that's the DC side of things. How is that Marvel book looking?
Well, as we know, November brings Thanksgiving for our US based cousins, and the Marvel book is an absolute Thanksgiving feast of new titles, new stories, new arcs, some great twists on existing stuff. So it's absolutely stacked. I think you can agree. We have got in the new side, we've got the new Golden Goblin, easily said, limited series. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's under the watchful eye of the fantastic Christopher Cantwell, who's coming off his beautiful run on Iron Man. I know you don't agree, but you will whenever you finally get a chance to read it. We've got plenty going on in the X corner. We've got the finish of AXE, that's Avengers X-Men Eternals, that crossover by Kieran Gillen. So that's finishing off just in time for, on the heroic side of things, Avengers writer Jason Aaron to start really ramping up for his finish on his seminal run on Avengers, with what looks to be a huge story that seems to be bringing a whole lot of the things he's been doing together. We've got some cool stuff happening in Spider-Man. We have Spider-Man Double Trouble, which looks like a crossover between Peter Parker and Miles Morales that looks very jumping on and kid-friendly. And also in the more mainstream side of Spider-Man, we've got something brewing that looks very, very interesting. But to be honest, I'm going to be talking about, or we're going to be talking about most of it, so I'll say no more here.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I always judge the books a little bit by how hard it is for me to pare down onto the previews boards that we have in store. I'll put 5, 6 choices up in those. And the DC one was relatively straightforward for me. The Marvel one I really struggled with, even to the point where a certain co-host gave me plenty of abuse today for what I actually chose. But that's only because there's so much good stuff. The Marvel book, as Keith says, it's a veritable feast this month. When it comes to the indie side of things, I mean, it's probably no surprise because it happens 11 months out of 12 a year. Image is leading the way with tons of great looking titles, lots of great number ones. They've got some great jumping on points for established titles. They have some original graphic novels being printed, and we say a fond farewell to one of the great comic franchises as well. But Boom also have a very strong month. I mean, a certain favorite creator of Keith's launches a new title through Boom Studios, with one of the longest titles in comics. There is also David Embor, we're big fans of, through the world of Kanto, launching a new book through Boom that has a very John Carpenter tinge to it, which looks great. Firefly continues to pump out the comics, which I know Keith really, really enjoys. Dark Horse is interesting this month. Dark Horse sees the launch of a new imprint within Dark Horse, led by Kevin Smith, and they'll launch him with a title this month. You got Brian Michael Bendis launched a new title. And then there's plenty of other little bits and pieces throughout the indie book. There's also a new publisher being set up that, depending on your point of view, is either a great thing or their best work is behind them thing. But I'm firmly in the first camp. So that can't be a bad thing to jump into. And there's even room for some wrestling merchandise in the book as well. Which
wrestling, you say?
Some wrestling indeed. And I already have about 5 pre-orders, which is hilarious for that. So, but yeah, we'll jump into the books in more detail. So if you are playing along at home, this is the DC Connect book. So with DC, as I say, you can go to dccomics.com and easily find a digital copy of the latest book. But again, we will always have these in store if you're popping in and want to have a flick through. So, of course, as I say, it's a certain Dark Knight leading the way, as is always the case with DC these days. Let's be honest. It's interesting actually because Keith and I had a chat today in store about Marvel in the 90s a little bit and how Deadpool was everywhere. So, you got bored of the character because he was in every title. A little bit of Wolverine fatigue as well. We never seen that Batman fatigue, which is incredible to me because the sheer amount of titles is nuts. But that's probably due to the fact that the great creators that work on Batman, there's a great diversity of creators there and some different tones. And
I would say, I mean, you're never going to get that Batman boredom, as you say, because of the variety. But Batman is also, one of DC's lead characters. It's the same as you can't really oversaturate Spider-Man, done by so many different creators, so many different ways.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I suppose just all these creators want to work for these flagship characters, so it's understandable. And it's also interesting. I mentioned the 90s, I mentioned Deadpool, which of course leads to Image Comics, and therefore the first title up, of course, has its links to Image as well. This was a title actually announced, I think, a couple of years ago at Comic-Con, and then it didn't seem to go anywhere. But it's from Marc Silvestri, who, of course, was one of the leading lights in setting up Image Comics, was one of Marvel Comics' best artists until the formation of Image. And it's a new title called Batman and Joker, a Deadly Duo. And it's going to be a 7-issue miniseries. And this sounds really, really interesting, actually. The Joker will go to any lengths to get Harley Quinn back after she is abducted by a strange culprit. But who? Mysterious Joker-like monsters are stalking the streets of Gotham, collecting severed heads. But why? Jim Gordon is missing, and after receiving a package containing a bloody piece of Gotham's commissioner, Batman knows he must be willing to do anything to save him. But how? When the Joker proposes an uneasy alliance with Batman, the answers to those questions begin to become clear, and they will shake Gotham and the Bat family to their core. So yeah, sounds really, really cool. The preview art looks great on this as well. It's actually going to be launching in November with 2 issues in November, which is a common theme, I should say, through the DC book here. There are a couple of titles that are double solicited, which means it's going to be a 5-week release month. You're going to get an issue at the start of the month and an issue at the end of the month. And Batman Joker Daily Joe is definitely one of them. You've got variant covers there, from Batman royalty, Kelly Jones, Jim Lee, Yannick Paquette as well. So yeah, definitely one to look forward to. Greg Capullo doing one as well for issue 1. Is this going to be one you pick up yourself?
Maybe. It's described. I mean, Marc Silvestri writing, art, cover is described as his Gotham opus. Maybe the last time he will dip his hand into into the Batman, into the Gotham universe. I may.
So yeah, Batman Joker Daily Joe again going to be a 7-issue miniseries for that one. So number 1 and 2 launching that month. Speaking of Batman and speaking of 90s, I'm really seeing a theme here. Next up is the Batman Spawn Classic Collection.
Speaking of Batman, speaking of 90s, speaking of Image Connect.
It all adds. It's almost like this is all planned, you know. But yeah, back in print for the first time in years. They're putting together this Batman Spawn the Classic Collection. You've got just a pencil cover there so far that Greg Capullo's putting together for this. I mean, the Batman Spawn crossover comics, they had an incredible amount of talent working on them. You know, you had Doug Moennig, Chuck Dixon, Alan Grant, Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, Todd McFarlane, you know, some of the biggest creators at the time. And this is going to be a collection of a few classics. You've got Batman Spawn War Devil. You've also got the Spawn Batman One Shot, which is Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane as well. So this is going to be a wee 112-page bad boy. It does carry a very hefty price, I have to say. Just looking at it, $20. Ooh, you got to love you some Spawn and some Batman to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. Unless, of course, it's loaded with extras, which it may just be. But yeah, it's back in print for the first time in a long time. This is one that I know a lot of guys in the store have asked about, certainly. You know, getting those trades of Batman Spawn. Because, yeah, McFarlane and Miller, you can't go wrong with that. Probably both at the peak of their powers at that point. So the next one's a Batman title, but I'm not going to introduce this one. I'm going to leave that to your fine self.
Yeah, 100%. This is off the series of one shots that are following the Bat villains, you know, Batman's Rogue Gallery. And whenever these things come out, and these ones particularly, the One Bad Day series of one shots, I sort of immediately went, I won't have to get too many of those. And then the first one was Tom King on the Riddler, which is sitting on my pile currently. And then there was another one with John Ridley on the Penguin, and I was like, "Oh, John Ridley, that'll be good." And then this one, of course, is Jerry Duggan, Mario Scalera on Mr. Freeze. So I think I've managed to not miss really one of them so far with regard to interest. So as I say, this is written by Jerry Duggan, known for many things, most notably currently leading the X-Men books and writing the current X-Men book, art and cover by Mario Scalera, the White Knight stuff, various other bits and pieces, you know, absolutely fantastic. It's cardstock prestige, 64 pages. And it says, going back to the Dark Knight's early days in Gotham City, Batman and Robin, Dick Grayson, faced down the coldest winter Gotham has ever seen. A winter so cold that Victor Freeze, no longer needs his containment suit to survive. He is in an element where he can thrive. Robin empathizes with Mr. Freeze. All Freeze wants to do is save his wife, Nora. But Batman warns Robin not to give his empathy to Victor Freeze. He's a man who decided his own fate a long time ago, and he deserves none of our warmth. And this winter, he will show his true wickedness and power. That sounds fantastic. Are we driven by love or obsession? I think that's going to be an interesting one. And as I say, killer creative team, variant covers by Jim Lee, another Image Connect there, Scott Williams and Alex Sinclair.
Yeah, I mean, this One Bad Day line is off to an absolute rocket of a start. I mean, my reading is a little behind, as I've, you know, said to a few people, obviously welcoming, you know, Alfie to the world and so forth. I joked on Twitter with a creator that I was 5 weeks behind, which coincided with 5-week-old baby. But I made sure to pick out Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler, out from the pile and read it. One sitting, 64 pages, no ads, links to the Killing Joke. Phenomenal piece of work. The Riddler has never. I think the Riddler is just enjoying this renaissance at the moment through the Batman movie, through the Riddler in this one. You've got the Paul Dano Riddler series coming up soon as well. So it's good to see the Riddler taken more seriously. But those One More Day ones, as you found out, Keith, with thinking you could pick and choose, you can't. Just the talent involved is so impressive that you just know you're going to jump on them. So yeah, as Keith says, that's Mr. Freeze is going to be the one shot out in November. Now again, we have said the guys in store, you can either, you know, say you want all the One More Day titles, or you can pick and choose. Just either way, whatever suits. Just let us know. But speaking of superstar creators and someone who seems to be doing more and more DC stuff at the moment, this will be a little corner of the DC universe, I think, spearheaded by Geoff Johns. Now, Geoff Johns is DC royalty at this point. You know, you can look at other sides of stories when it comes to live action stuff and blah 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 blah. We're not in here to talk about that. We're just talking about the comic side of things, and he is spearheading out of the back of Flashpoint Beyond, which will finish by November. A return to some great nostalgic times at DC Comics. There's going to be a one shot launched in November called The New Golden Age. Now, written by Jeff Johns, it's going to be an anthology based 48-page one shot with a few different artists on there, including Steve Lieber, Jerry Ordway, Mikel Janin, for example. So this one shot is essentially going to set up his little corner of the DC universe. So from the Justice Society of America to the Legion of Superheroes, the new Golden Age will unlock DC's epic and secret-ridden history of heroism, launching a new group of titles set firmly in the DC universe. From the 1940s to the 3040s, heroes take on the great evils of their time. But in the aftermath of Flashpoint Beyond, those heroes and villains will have their lives turned upside down. DC's future and its past will never be the same again. But how are the mime and marionette connected to this? Doomsday Clock. Nice. It's only taken about 4 years. Why are Rip Hunter and the Time Masters the most unlikable heroes in the DC universe? And who or what is nostalgia? Don't miss the start of the strangest mystery to have ever plagued the DC universe. So you'll have that one shot setting up what they're wanting to do. And then we jump headfirst into the first title, which I know will make so many of our customers happy. And that's a return of the JSA, Justice Society of America. So again, powerhouse team at work here. Jeff Johns writing, Mikel Janin on art. So the JSA returns. I mean, it's just looking absolutely glorious. Perfect Golden Age type stuff from DC. JSA returns in this monthly series by writer Jeff Johns and artist Mikel Janin with Justice Society of America, The New Golden Age Part 1. The world's first and greatest superheroes return, or do they? A long-lost hero from the JSA crashes into our era with a grave warning, but it's too late. A mysterious and malevolent enemy has invaded the entire history of the JSA, and an all-new team must come together to defeat it. But what deadly secret does this messenger from beyond keep? Where are they from, and why is this all happening now? Only the Time Masters know. So this looks like it's going to be an ongoing for Justice Society, and it comes at a good time, I think. You know, obviously Justice League has finished within the DC universe at the moment. There's definitely a little gap there for a team-based book that's not just Justice League. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, just ushering in that sort of new era of DC a little bit as well. But we go from something I'm looking forward to with the corner of the DC universe to something Keith is very much looking forward to as a corner in the DC universe. And what, pray tell, is that?
Well, let me start with a little primer. Wildcats was a team that first launched in 1992. And they first appeared in the first issue of their eponymous comic book, which was Wildcats, and that's Wild CATS, which stood for Covert Action Teams. It was published by Image. It was the book of Image's founding partner, Jim Lee. It was, whenever all of the creators came in, they came in with their own books, and this was his. Rob Liefeld's equivalent, I guess, was Youngblood. You had Savage Dragon by Eric Larson and all of that sort of stuff. So this was his first work in the newly launched company and his first creator-owned project. It was the starting point of a whole interconnected universe, which became the foundation of Wildstorm, which was his own studio. And it was launched at that time when everything was spectator fueled and everything was booming, and it was hugely, hugely popular. It ran for 50 issues. In addition to Jim Lee, it featured Chris Claremont, James Robinson, Alan Moore, and eventually it expanded into other media. There was animated stuff and so forth. 6 years later, in 1998, all the concepts and characters of Wildcats were sold to DC as part of the acquisition of Wildstorm, which set Jim Lee up in that company. And there was a new incarnation of the team launched. It ran for 28 issues. There was a third, fourth, and finally fifth series. The fifth was in 2008, which was sort of an ending. But more recently, Matthew Rosenberg picked up Wildcats and Grifter in Batman Urban Legends, wasn't it?
It was Urban Legends, yeah. And Grifter made his way into the main Bat title for.
He certainly did, yeah. He certainly did. So what we have is what looks like a new, as you say, corner of the DC universe, led by Matthew Rosenberg, and that's kicking off with Wildcats #1. It's an ongoing, written by Matthew Rosenberg and art and cover by Steven Segovia. There's variant covers by Jim Lee, by Stanley Archer Malawin, by Ben Oliver. and it says, spinning from the pages of Batman comes a sense-shattering new series. The Halo Corporation, which was originated in the original Wildcats, has gathered a motley crew of operatives led by Cole Grifter Cash, who are going to make the world a better place no matter who they have to kill. Working in the shadows of the DC universe, this new covert team has been tasked with gathering an elite group of scientists for the first phase of their plan, but the Cat's mysterious leader Void might have other plans. Looks great. On the front cover, we have Grifter, we have Voodoo, we have Spartan, and a variety of other original and legacy characters. So really excited for this, and the seeds that were laid by Rosenberg over the past few years. I really hope they pay off. It looks very different from the original Wildcats mission, which was, the premise of that was a centuries-long war between aliens called the Cherubim and Demonites, and it was a whole thing. So this looks like it's very much taking the covert side of it. Joining Wildcats is Waller versus Wildstorm by Spencer Ackerman and Evan Narcisse, art by Eric Battle. It's 32 pages, 1 of 4. It's a Prestige Plus. Silly size, right?
I was wondering when you would notice.
Yeah, absolutely. In the early 1980s, as the Cold War stubbornly refused to thaw, a new battle heats up for the soul of the intelligence agency Checkmate. As the agency's superheroic public face, Jackson King, aka the Armored Battalion, former leader of Stormwatch and the symbol of American might, has long suspected that Adeline Kane is up to dirty tricks overseas, engineering horrors that betray everything he believes about service to one's country. But King doesn't know that Kane has a clever new ally, an ambitious young woman named Amanda Waller. She has her own ideas about how metahumans can serve the country, and honor, dignity, and long lives don't factor into them. National security reporter Spencer Ackerman, The Deadly Beast, Reign of Terror, comics video game writer Evan Narcisse, Spider-Man Miles Morales and Gotham Knights, and veteran artist Eric Battle from Aquaman and Cobalt celebrate Wildstorm's legacy of espionage-flavored superhero morality plays, pitting Stormwatch against the deadliest people of the DCU, including Deathstroke himself. And that is not all. We also have the Wildstorm 30th Anniversary Special, written by Matthew Rosenberg, Brandon Chow, J. Scott Campbell, Brett Booth, Ed Brisson, and others. Art by Jim Lee, J. Scott Campbell, Brian Hitch, Brett Booth, and others, with a cover by Jim Lee. 96 pages, Prestige, one shot. In 1992, Jim Lee changed the course of comics history with the founding of Wildstorm Productions, which revolutionized the business and launched the careers of so many top creators. To this day, 30 years later, the impact of the imprint, its characters, and its creators is still felt. In honor of this legacy comes a 100-page giant, says 96 pages, there you go, that pays homage to the past and looks forward to the future. Part of this mammoth special will be reprinting for the first time in periodical format short stories from the acclaimed Wildstorm, a celebration of 25 years hardcover, including stories by Jim Lee, J. Scott Campbell, Brett Booth, Dustin Nguyen, and more, plus new stories featuring Wildstorm characters in the DC core line, charting their future in the DC universe. Lovely Grifter and Voodoo Jim Lee cover there. So yeah, Wildstorm and Wildcats are back in full effect.
I mean, is this going to be the kind of title and the kind of corner of the DC universe that even can convince you to buy Silly Size?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time, Alan. I mean, we know that. I mean, I'm not a fundamentalist.
There's always exceptions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't get too tied up in your own rules, So I'm currently on Aquaman Andromeda, and that was worth buying because, of the creators on that. So yeah, I would say I'll probably grab that as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Wildcats is not something I have an awful lot of experience with, but I love what Matthew Rosenberg's doing in the DC universe at the moment, doing the DC versus Vampire stuff with Tinian, doing Task Force Z, which I keep banging on about is the most underrated title in DC releases at the moment. So I'll definitely be checking it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to find a way for you to read those first original 50 issue run of Wildcats. It really was good stuff. Very 90s, very 90s.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. But let's swing back to more traditional corners of the DC universe.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we're swinging back. Of course, we've spoken Batman, we've spoken new corners. We have to speak Superman next as well. So there's going to be a one shot coming soon, which is Superman Kal-El Returns Special #1. So for those of you who don't know, with Superman, Superman's been off-world in the pages of Action Comics. That has led to his son, Jonathan Kent, who has been protecting Earth and Superman, son of Kal-El. But I believe Warworld is coming to a close, and Clark's going to make his way back to Earth. And it looks like this is going to be a one shot showing all of his reacquaintances coming up. So with this one, Kal-El has returned from his long sojourn to Warworld, but what ramifications does this hold for the broader DC universe? In this special issue, we'll spotlight Kal-El's reunion with the Dark Knight, Jimmy Olsen, the Justice League, and Lex Luthor. Plus, never before revealed look at the moments leading to Superman's abduction by Pariah and Dark Crisis, so it'll tie into that as well. The march towards Action Comics 1050 continues. That sounds like it's going to be a stupidly big size random anniversary issue. Continues in this essential special volume. So I think what this will prove to be is definitely a jumping on point if you're looking for Superman now. I haven't been reading Action Comics. I hear nothing but great stuff about that War World story.
Yep.
So I kind of wish I had jumped on it. I'll definitely pick it up in hardcover or trade when it comes out. But this looks to be a jumping on point for the big blue Boy Scouts. So I think I'll be jumping on that myself.
That run, that Philip Kennedy Johnson run, is phenomenal, Alan. But I am really looking forward to most we see pictured, and I think that is Travis Moore's cover of John and Kal-El being reunited, father and son.
Yeah, the reunion father and son definitely will be a big element here.
Now there's a struggle here because that Travis Moore cover is lovely, but the Dan Mora cover of Superman flying above the earth is also totally beautiful. So we have a problem.
The struggle is real when it comes to covers, to say the least. I mean, that's part of it. That's a Dark Crisis tie-in now. I'm not going to spotlight much from Dark Crisis here. There are some one-shots and so forth. The only reason I don't want to highlight them too much is because they're going to give away spoilers for later on in the Dark Crisis storyline. So Dark Crisis itself, which is now, of course, called Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, reaches number 6, which is the second last issue. But you've got like Dark Crisis, the Dark Army here. You've got Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Batman #1. You've got Dark Crisis Warzone #1. So there's plenty of tie-ins and stuff. But again, we're only at issue 3. So I'm a little loath to look at some of the story details here, because don't want to give too much away for ourselves, you know. But one thing I wanted to sort of showcase a little bit of was there's a lot of facsimiles this month, but we had a slight disagreement as to whether this one is a facsimile or brand new.
And I don't believe it is, because it's Superman 75 Special Edition, not facsimile edition. Of course, this was the classic written by Dan Jurgens, art by Dan Jurgens, Brett Breeding cover. It was the 1992 Superman and Doomsday going toe to toe in Metropolis, and the fall of the Man of Steel. The death of Superman, was a shock to the world, changed the DC universe. And I guess if you weren't about at that time, now's your chance to pick up a piece of comic book history in the special edition. And as far as I know, there's a couple of different editions of this, isn't that right? There's one with an armband as well.
They didn't solicit it in here, but there is going to be sort of similar to when the death of Superman was around. There was polybagged versions that came with, funeral posters and came with armbands, and they really went all in on it, to say the least. But they only solicited this one here, but there will be other ones available, so certainly keep an eye on the store. We obviously highlight the releases every week through social media and so forth, so you can keep an eye out for that. But but as I say, facsimiles essentially are perfect reprints of older issues. It gives people a chance to jump into some of those classic issues without having to spend silly money on them. And recently we've had Detective Comics number 27, first appearance of Batman, come out in facsimile form. We've got Action Comics #1 coming out soon. Marvel have been doing it as well. We had Amazing Fantasy 15 recently. We had the Amazing Spider-Man Annual. Introduction of the Sinister Six thrown in there as well. But there are a couple this month as well. You've got the Wonder Woman 204 facsimile. I must admit I'm not up on my Wonder Woman history, so I'm just going to have to read this one out. After the shocking loss of her mentor, Diana Prince returns to Paradise Island only to be met with more conflict. An armored challenger demands the right to fight our hero for the title of Wonder Woman. introducing Nubia. So, first appearance of Nubia. Just in time for the character's 50th anniversary, DC Comics proudly presents the character's first appearance. Now, the other two I was going to highlight, I do know a little more about. Detective Comics number 38, the introduction of Robin, the Boy Wonder, to the Batman canon. So, that is reprinted here. And then we also have The Brave and the Bold number 28, which was essentially the very first time the Justice League of America teamed up. So that was Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern as well. So yeah, those facsimiles, they nearly always come in at, $4 or $5. They're not too expensive. But again, in comparison to the original titles themselves, you'll just pay fortunes for them, to say the least.
Couple of annuals worth highlighting as well, Alan, in November. If you don't mind me taking the liberty.
Absolutely.
We've got the Nightwing 2022. That's what year it is now, isn't it? Annual, written by Tom Taylor, art by Eduardo Pansica and Julio Ferreira. Look, very, very key. This looks very, very key to the Nightwing series. 48 pages. It says, "Who is Heartless? Find out who the villain behind the platinum mask and why he only collects the hearts of some victims and not others, and why he has no heart himself." Then, Bitewing Year One. Follow Haley in her first year with her humans, Nightwing and Batgirl, to see how she takes a bite out of crime in her first year of becoming Bitewing. So that'll be fairly key.
That's obviously why you're saying it's key, because of this Bitewing adventure.
Well, obviously, yeah, absolutely.
I'd argue that any Tom Taylor Nightwing issue is essential.
Fair. We've got Ram V written Detective Comics 2022 annual, art by Christopher Mitten. Looks like it's following the sort of themes, but that Ram V has set down in Detective Comics so far. It says, as a werewolf, Gale has lived through many generations and so has visited Gotham land before, hundreds of years ago. Take a trip back to 1700s Renaissance Gotham with Gale and Arkham Land to help remember with him exactly where he buried something important he now has to dig back up. And in a twist of fate, a dark knight in town also seems to be looking for something from out of time, his way back home to the present. There's a very cool cover there by Evan Kagel of a 1700s dressed Batman. So looks very good.
Yeah, I mean, Ram's been knocking Detective out of the park, only 2 issues deep, but already given it his own veritable stamp, as you would expect as well. So, yeah, just a couple to finish off with in the DC book before we jump into that mammoth Marvel book. First of all, you've got the Christmas anthology book coming out, which has the great title of DC's Grifter Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So DC will always do this. They do anthologies. They'll do them at Christmas. Sorry to say that word, Keith. They do it at Halloween. They do it in the summer. They do it for Valentine's Day. So with this one, it has talent involved such as John Layman, Max Bemis, Kevin Scott, Dustin Wayne, Christopher Mitten, again, obviously drawn Detective Comics Annual as well. So, who made it to the nice list? Hawkman, Black Canary? Is that Animal Man on the naughty list? And how did Grifter find himself in the targeting sites of those pesky reindeer? Get one for you and an extra for a loved one's stocking. You'll be glad you did. What a terrible pun. In this holiday song celebration. So that'll be a wee one shot. And then I mentioned in the intro about cancelling absolute orders and ordering an omnibus. Now, I'm a massive fan of absolute. I get the mick taken out of me a little bit in store because I say, once you buy an absolute, you'll never need another edition of something. But they're doing an absolute for Dark Knight's Metals. This was Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's massive event for DC Comics a few years ago. Now, the absolute only has issues 1 to 6 in it, plus a couple of random ones. It doesn't even have the Forge and the casting, which to me were the 2 lay-in issues to it. It's like those 6 issues, Batman, The Wild Hunt, Hawkman Lost, and Batman Found, I think it was. No, Batman Lost, Hawkman Found. But cancel that order and direct your money elsewhere to the Dark Knight's Metal Omnibus, because this has everything. This is Dark Days the Forge, Dark Days the Casting, Batman the Red Death, the Devastator, the Merciless, the Murder Machine, the Drowned, the Dawnbreaker, the Batman Who Laughs. This is Batman Lost, Hawkman Found, Dark Knight's Rising, the Wild Hunt, Nightwing 29, Flash 33, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps 32, Green Arrow 32, Suicide Squad, Teen Titans 12, Justice League issues, and Dark Knight Metal 1 to 6. So this is what you want if you want to read Metal. This is everything on it. 27 issues in total. And again, it comes in at around the same price as the Absolute. I think it works out £15 more expensive, but you're getting about 4 times the content. So cancel those Absolute orders, something I would not say very often.
Nope.
Get on to the Dark Knight Metal Omnibus if you want to enjoy that story. You know, Death Metal maybe lost the run of itself here and there a little bit with its ambition, but I
Who
thought
said that?
I mean, who would ever say that? But Dark Knight's Metal to me, I thought was a pretty close to perfect event. I thought the art was on point, the tie-ins weren't too many, all the one shots depicting all the Dark Knight Batman were well executed. The tie-in stories were great. So yeah, Metal for me is one of DC's best events in years. So
Is that
highly
a
recommend that.
is that a hardcover, softcover?
So omnibus is a traditional style of an
Yeah.
omnibus.
Okay.
So you know,
Cool.
sort of hard covers, you know, large binding, that sort of style. But and there's also going to be a new direct market variant cover for it done by Greg Capullo. So when it comes to direct market covers, just in case people don't know, direct market means comic shops. So you won't be able to order direct market covers in on Amazon or pick them up in HMV or Waterstones. They're for comic stores only. So the main cover there that I'd sort of showed off, that's just the traditional cover, but Greg Capullo is doing a new direct market one as well. So, but yeah, just a couple of trades to highlight, and then we're done with DC.
Yeah, absolutely. We latecomer to our script anyway. I just noticed it there, and that's the Rorschach trade, written by Tom King, art and cover by Jorge Fornes. Was one of my favorite Tom King books. Well, still one of my favorite Tom King books, but was certainly well up there until Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow came along. This is 312 pages. It is actually an early solicit. I don't think this is going on sale until December, but it's advertised right here, so that's why we're talking about it. 35 years after Ozymandias dropped a giant squid in New York City, killing thousands and destroying the public's trust in heroes once and for all, Rorschach reappears as an assassin trying to kill a candidate running against President Robert Redford. Who is the man behind the mask and what's his goal? It's up to one detective to uncover the identity of this would-be killer, and it will take him into a web of conspiracies involving alien invasions, disgraced do-gooders, mystic visions, and yes, comic books. That is the entire Rorschach miniseries, issues 1 to 12, and it absolutely was a trip, if you recall, Alan.
Oh, big time! Rorschach was fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
it was consistent as gravity with its releases. The art was awesome. The art Jorge Fornes puts me in mind of David Mazzucchelli, so it's that sort of Batman Year One type style. It was a series that started a little bit slowly, but got better with every single issue as the seed started to be sown. It was, yeah, I mean, this is the trade paperback solicitation. It is available in hardcover at the moment, but this is one of those ones DC did that way around: hardcover first and then trade second.
Yeah, and this the next one I'm gonna flip around a wee bit because I've got two volumes of I guess collected edition. The first one is Nightwing Volume One, Leaping into the Light by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. It's 160 pages. It is soft cover, and Nightwing is back, and his drive to keep Bloodhaven safe has never been stronger. But his adoptive city has elected a new mayor with the last name of Zuko. When Nightwing enlists Batgirl's help in investigating the politician bearing the same name as the man who murdered his parents, she unearths details that will shock and fundamentally change the hero. Dick Grayson's big heart has protected those persecuted by bullies in his youth, combated evil alongside Batman as Robin, and pledged his newly inherited wealth to enriching Bloodhaven as Nightwing. His kindness and generosity have always guided his life, but now a new villain stalks the back alleys, removing the hearts of the city's most vulnerable. Who is the terrifying new menace named Heartless? Seems we'll be finding out in this year's annual.
The timing,
And and will he be able to resist plucking out the hearts, the biggest hearts in all of Bloodhaven? This collects the fantastic Nightwing 78 to 83. That's Leaping into the Light. And then we have a hardcover, 160 page, also by Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. That's volume 2, Get Grayson. Now, I know that might not sit right with a lot of people, a hardcover and a soft cover. Eventually, this will come out in soft cover, but I mean, whenever it's out, you just couldn't resist it. And this second volume, after millionaire Dick Grayson announces to Bloodhaven his plans to give all his money away to create the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation and help unhoused children on the streets, Blockbuster feels the city's power slipping from his hands and places a target on Dick Grayson's head. And through gritted teeth, he orders his assassins to get Grayson. Also in this volume is the fan favorite story from Nightwing 87, presented as one continuously connected 22-page image, which was nominated for the 2022 Eisner for Best Single Issue. Get Grayson collects Nightwing 87, 89, 87 to 89, Superman Son of Kal-El number 9, and Nightwing 90 to 91. So a lot of top quality comic goodness there.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's as Keith says. I mean, obviously, soft cover for Volume One there, hardcover for Volume Two. Volume One again is available already as a hardcover. So obviously, if you've already picked that up, then you'd go onto the hardcover for Nightwing 2, because otherwise you're just a crazy person, because it has the lineup perfectly. But if you're coming new to Nightwing, then the soft cover it's the slightly cheaper option certainly. But this is a book that just does not disappoint. If this is not your first time listening to us, you know how much we talk about Nightwing and how much it kills me that Batman is not DC's best book. But unfortunately, his apprentice, or has he surpassed him? Who knows? Currently carries the best DC book around at the moment, I would say. So those trades are essential if you've missed out on the single issues. And then just one last one just to chat about with regards to DC, and that's another Black Label, so premium plus size hardcover. What we do find with the premium plus stuff, I know Keith and I joke back and forth about it, but we find it sells really well in graphic novel form, for the simple reason that it sits nice on the bookshelf versus it won't fit in my comic box. So this is one called Suicide Squad Blaze. This was this right up your alley, Keith. Written by Si Spurrier, art by Aaron Campbell. That's your Hellblazer team right there. Short lived, rest in peace. Great Hellblazer run. But yeah, this was a 3-issue miniseries. They were oversized issues. But yeah, when 5 ordinary convicts are given incredible powers by the top secret Blaze program, it falls to Harley Quinn, Peacemaker, Captain Boomerang, King Shark to keep them on mission as they hunt down a brutal cannibal with all the powers of Superman. But no one on Earth is prepared for the cosmic secret that hides inside the cannibal, and which now hides inside the squad too. So yeah, it was 3 issues in total. This was great. This was very much on tone with the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie, very much on tone with the likes of the Peacemaker TV show, and just a really cool dark series. And again, that creative team involved, it's really not a surprise that it was as good as it was. So yeah, so that is the DC book pretty much covered. We'll jump away from DC and jump straight on to that Marvel book. Just look at that Alex Ross cover.
Oh, I'm telling you. But that's not where we're starting.
It's not.
Although many things start with the cover, not this particular Marvel Previews podcast. We are getting straight in with absolute, Jason Aaron sort of heavy metal power into Avengers Assemble Alpha #1, which is a 56-page one-shot by Jason Aaron and Brian Hitch. Wraparound cover by Brian Hitch, looks fantastic, and some great looking variant covers there by J. Scott Campbell, Salvador Larroca, Mark Brooks. This is uniting the Avengers Forever and Avengers of 1 million BC in an epic saga that forms the capstone to Jason Aaron's era on Avengers. Whew, it had to come to an end eventually, didn't it? Says from throughout time and the far corners of the multiverse, the mighty heroes of all the Earths are assembling as never before for a battle beyond all imagining. A war that will take us from the prehistoric beginnings of an Earth under assault by the greatest villains who ever lived to the watchtower that stands at the dark heart of the all and the always, where an army of unprecedented evil now rises. The biggest Avengers saga in Marvel history begins now, and I guess runs through all of the books, Avengers Forever, where we're seeing the rise of Robbie Reyes as the All-Rider, and the Central Avengers title, which Jason Aaron will apparently be leaving very, very soon. I wonder, will he also be finishing off? Will he be concluding Avengers Forever as well? This looks absolutely phenomenal. I had no idea until I read this that Jason Aaron was on the way out. But again, I say it did have to happen. It did have to happen eventually, didn't it?
I mean, will that take Jason Aaron off all Marvel books then? So obviously he finished up the Conan stuff and King Conan recently. Is there any books that he's actually on?
Top of my head, I can't remember, but I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will be long. I'm sure it will
I
be long.
imagine not, but as Keith says as well, something tells me that Avengers Forever #11 will be a spec hunter's dream, as it introduces, as you say, the All Rider. So one to keep out for you spec merchants out there.
Absolutely. There's some interesting stuff happening over in the Spider corner of the Marvel book, with Amazing Spider-Man 14 by Zeb Wells, Michael Dowling, and Kyle Hotz, with a cover by John Romita Jr. I see Romita is sort of moving to covers here rather than an internal art. We
which I'm
have a
not happy about.
dark.
Not happy
No,
about.
not happy at all. But we
That
have
man
a.
is born to draw Spider-Man.
Yep, agreed. But he's hard to keep around. We have a prelude for Dark Web, which seems to be crossing into Venom and maybe a few other things. It says we haven't seen Chasm since Amazing Spider-Man 94 and the Free Comic Book Day issue, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been busy. Chasm was the character who Ben Reilly became at the end of Spider-Man Beyond, and he did not look like a good character, especially whenever he was linking up with the Goblin Queen at the end of the Free Comic Book Day issue. Join us for the very special issue featuring Spidey's most dangerous new villain, as well as the Goblin Queen and a brand new villain that you will not believe. There's a lovely, lovely cupboard there. We've got the sort of dark, sort of electricity, sort of fonted dark web brand on there. And likewise, we have it on the front cover of Venom number 13 by Al Ewing and Brian Hitch. Noted as a dark web prelude. Forced to watch his son die from across the time stream, Eddie Brock finds himself surrounded by enemies. Alone with no one to trust, an unexpected ally lends a hand. She's setting the stage for the most epic crossover of the year. So it looks like this is a crossover between Venom and Spider-Man. But also pulled in here is Gold Goblin number 1 of 5. Sounds a bit odd, but definitely spins out, I think, of the stuff that's happening in Amazing Spider-Man at the minute. And Christopher Cantwell is in the title, a fantastic writer who is currently finishing off his amazing run on Iron Man with Lan Medina on art. Says it's not easy being Gold. Norman Osborn's sins may have been cleansed, as in that was in the Sin Eater storyline, but his memories weren't, and he's done plenty of horrific things to remember. Norman's worked hard to avoid all things Goblin and to stay on the straight and narrow. Consequences in Amazing Spider-Man pushed him to try superheroing, and he liked it. And when the media dub him the Gold Goblin, he has to start to wonder, can he ever get away from the Goblin inside? This is a 5-issue series by the looks of it, and also has the Dark Web imprint and a beautiful cover there by Torrin Clark. So plenty going on there. You're not convinced by Gold Goblin?
I don't know, just the design of it just almost seems to me like we're running out of ideas to introduce new characters, sort of thing. But I will certainly give it a chance. I will be on the dark web stuff. I'm on Amazing Spider-Man. I'm on Venom, so I may as well give the first issue of this a go.
And as you always say, follow creators rather than characters.
I mean, I don't really read a lot of Christopher Cantwell.
He's on the Blue Flame.
Yeah, there's Blue Flame, which is his indie book through Vault Comics. I do read that. Obviously I don't read Iron Man, but as you said today, you can't wait for issue 25 that to come out just so you can hand it to me and go, bloody read the thing.
Exactly, absolutely. Moving on then, on to, as you mentioned, the wonderful Alex Ross cover of the Marvel book. We have the relaunch of Fantastic Four now that Dan Slott has finished his fantastic run on it. The creators on this, which were teased by Marvel through the it was like a compass, and that's explained by the fact that Ryan North is the creator, which I think you guessed correctly, wasn't that right?
Yeah, he was someone who was known mostly for Unbeatable Squirrel Girl was the first thing I remembered him for, but it just seemed a bit on the nose. But yeah,
Ryan North's he's actually sort of all over the place at the minute. In this book in particular, be coming up again and again. Canadian writer. And a computer game programmer, the author and creator of Dinosaur Comics, and wrote widely for Adventure Time, as well as you say, as the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. He's a multiple Eisner and Harvey Award winner, and has made the New York Times bestseller list. So plenty going on there. I think he worked with Chip Zdarsky on Jughead, wasn't that right?
Yes, on Jughead, I think you're right, yeah.
And he was on Humans for a wee while, has done some Star Trek stuff as well, I think, but that's an aside, because he's now on Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family. Art is by Iban Coelho, one of the Stormbreakers, Marvel Stormbreakers artists, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Some variant covers. J. Scott Campbell is everywhere this month. A variant cover by Frank Miller, Arthur Adams, Phil Noto, Alex Ross, all sorts of stuff there. And it's subtitled Whatever Happened to the Fantastic Four. It's the start of a new era for the Fantastic Four, and they're already in a ton of trouble. Something has gone terribly wrong in New York, and the Thing and Alicia are traveling across America to escape it. But when they stop in a small town for the night and wake up in the morning, before they arrived, they find themselves caught in a time loop that's been going on since before they were born. That's been going on since before they were born. That's been going on since before they were born. 40-page kickoff, and some lovely covers there. So you going to get on Fantastic Four with
Yes,
Ryan North here?
I really like the look of the preview art as well. It's just black and white and inks, but it looks really clean. Really nice art for that. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know why I didn't get on with the Dan Slott Fantastic Four run. I read bits and pieces here and there, and I thought he would be the perfect guy to get me into Fantastic Four, given his fantastic pun intended Silver Surfer run. But it just never clicked with me at the start. But maybe I need to go back and give it another go. I did read Reckoning more, which I enjoyed in fairness, but it felt a little like cheating that I read the end of it, but not everything up to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to knock off this corner of the universe, I guess the heroes corner, we have the tie up of AXE Judgment Day with an Omega issue by the series creator, the miniseries creator Kieran Gillen, cover by art by Guy Villanova, and cover by Pasquale Ferry, as well as a variant cover by Alan Davis and Peach Momoko. And this is the fallout. This is one of these Omega issues, fallout of Judgment Day. After events, we make promises. Nothing will ever be the same again. Don't they always? For the Eternals, it's a lie. It's always the same and always will be. However, in the wake of Judgment Day, they discover what is truly eternal. It is a one shot, and Kieran Gillen playing with the classic "Nothing will ever be the same again." Cool.
I'm pretty sure we see that in the Marvel book at least once a month.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever be the same, or people will be forever changed, or they know how to sort of make it sound like Stanley without it being Stanley, which is kind of fun. But yeah, we're going to move on to a couple of things now that I'm not too sure how my co-host feels about. Well, actually, that's a lie. I know exactly how
Yeah.
he feels about it.
I make no secret.
He makes no secret indeed. But this month, everyone's favorite, well, most people's favorite, Merc with a Mouth, is back with a new ongoing series. And we get asked a lot in the store, and obviously Deadpool has had this surge in popularity in the last 5 or 6 years due to the success of the movies through Ryan Reynolds and so on and so forth. So there's a brand new series kicking off, brand new number one this month, written by Alyssa Wong, who's predominantly known for Dr. Aphra in the Star Wars universe and Iron Fist as well. And it's drawn by Martin Coccolo, who worked on some of the Banner of War stuff, the Thor Hulk crossover. So yeah, brand new number one. You've got variant covers there by Rob Liefeld if you don't like to look at nice art. David Nakayama, Mike Hawthorne, Gang. I'm being facetious. What can I say? But anyway, yeah. So Marvel's top merc is back in business. We all know Wade Wilson is one of the top mercenary assassins in the Marvel universe, even if he is simultaneously the most annoying one. See, they're aiming for you here, Keith. But he's pushing to make that recognition official as he auditions for the elite group known as the Atelier. Now he has 48 hours to kill one of the world's most famous supervillains. Only problem? He's being kidnapped, and something strange is growing inside him. Things are going to get gross as writer Alyssa Wong and artist Martin Coccolo take out their pent-up aggression on everyone's pizza-faced, jabber-mouthed, misguided, hate to love to hate fave Deadpool. Come on, that solicitation is written for you.
Yeah, fair, but not happening. Sorry.
I'd mentioned in the DC book as well about facsimiles, and Marvel are in on the act this month as well. So just talking about Deadpool there. So they are doing a facsimile for New Mutants 98, of course. Very famously, Deadpool's first appearance. It also introduces Gideon, who no one remembers.
No, I remember Gideon, the green-haired external.
So you remember New Mutants 98 more for Gideon than Deadpool?
No, I remember Deadpool too. I mean, at that time, Deadpool was interesting.
It makes me laugh. I said this to Keith in the shop today. It makes me laugh that there are all these big Deadpool fans out there who would love to own a New Mutants 98, that first appearance issue. And Keith owns that issue, but he has it because he was reading New Mutants at the time, not because he searched out this issue. So he has this lovely issue that's worth hundreds of pounds. He's just like, ugh, Deadpool. But if you want to read that story and you want a perfect reproduction, perfect reprint for $4, then New Mutants 98 is listed for November as well. But we come to my most anticipated Marvel title this month, and it's not even a character that would be my most anticipated, but it's just, we speak all the time, follow creators. Tradd Moore, I think, is one of the trippiest and best and most interesting artists working today, and he tends to do a lot of Marvel work at the moment. Was of course the artist on Silver Surfer Black, which was a great 5 issue miniseries with Donny Cates writing. But Tradmore is back for a brand new 4 issue miniseries, Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. So this is going to be a 4 issue mini, as I say, and he's both writing and drawing this. So from the mind of Tradmore, Doctor Strange awakens alone in a distant world not his own. Lost of purpose and surrounded by danger, the wandering sorcerer must explore the land of blades and mystery to unravel arcane secrets and escape the deadly horrors that lie in wait. From the fantastical mind of Tradmore comes a strange story like you've never seen. So it's a 40-page issue one to kick things off. I'm really loving Marvel are doing this at the moment, starting to put the corner boxes up again in certain titles. It's something from comics of yesteryear I would love to see on all DC and Marvel comics, although Marvel tend to do it a little better than DC, I will admit. But 4 issue miniseries, as I say. Tradmore is doing covers. There's some variants by Ron Lim, and another one of my favorite artists doing a variant cover, Daniel Warren Johnson, as well. So that to me is my Marvel pick of this month.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's right. As soon as I saw Silver Surfer Black and Tradmore, I went, "Yep, there we go. That's Alan's." So yeah, absolutely. Playing to form there, sir.
Very much so.
We are venturing back to World Planet Hulk with Greg Pak writing Planet Hulk Wordbreaker #1 of 5 with art by Manuel Garcia. There's a range of variant covers there, and it's set 1,000 years from now on the planet Sakaar. A young woman with green skin searches for the legendary Green Scar to help her brother from a group of save her brother from a group of apocalyptic cultists. But which Hulk will she find? And after all these years, is he truly the Sakaar son? Who will save us all, or the Wordbreaker who will destroy us? A shocking expansion and culmination of the mythos of Sakaar and the heart of the Hulks from Planet Hulk. Scribe Greg Pak and visionary Devil's Reign artist Manuel Garcia. 5 issues, 32 pages, some lovely covers. I'm down for that. I loved Planet Hulk whenever it first came out. Just sticking with, I guess, returns of series and teams. We have another 5 issue mini series from X-Men legend Chris Claremont and Salvador Larroca, and a legend in his own right. And that is a return of Extreme X-Men, as I say, for a 5 issue miniseries. Some great variant covers and homage covers. But this was like an early 2000s series, if I recall, called Extreme X-Men. Obviously, Extreme with the X rather than the EX. Legendary ex-scribe Chris Claremont reunites with artist Dynamo Salvador Larroca for an all-new story set just after the groundbreaking original run of Extreme X-Men. A powerful psychic attack on Kitty Pryde from her old enemy Ogun brings the Extreme team back together for a high-stakes mission. But what secret is Ogun hiding? And will even the combined might of Bishop, Sage, Gambit, Rogue, Rachel Summers, Storm, and Wolverine be enough to stop his insidious plan? I think it will. The excitement starts here with the kickoff of the arc that will have wide-reaching implications on some of your favorite X characters, and nothing will ever be. Never mind. 32 pages. I am looking forward to this. It looks beautiful, if nothing else, because Salvador Larroca.
And nothing will ever be that. You know the rest. You know the rest. Yeah, nice. I mean, they're really enjoying going back to these sort of, early continuities, bringing back classic writers and artists from yesteryear. And I think it's really, really respectful and really cool to let them tell stories in the sort of long continuities that they had, because a lot of these ones that have been being done, these creators were working on these titles for years. They didn't just come along and do like a 6 issue mini or a 10 issue mini. They wrote pretty defining runs, so it's great to see them allowed to return to it, so to speak. The next one up, there's Ryan North once again. We obviously mentioned jumping on to Fantastic Four. This is a title I believe was solicited a little while ago as well, but is finally getting resolicited and looks ready to come out in November.
It actually specifically says, "Attention retailers, all previous orders have been cancelled. Please place new orders."
Which is the most annoying thing in the world of comics. You already made your order, you paid for it. Now they refund you and you got to order it again. Anyway, but yeah, Rand North's writing this. It's going to be a 5 issue miniseries, Secret Invasion. Those words themselves should be familiar to Marvel fans everywhere. The artist on this is Francesco Mobili. The Skrulls are back in a Jan-sized issue kicking off an all-new 5-part miniseries. When Maria Hill detects the merest hint of Skrulls, she acts quickly to put her defensive plans into action. And when Nick Fury is sent to investigate a Skrull sighting in Iowa, he finds the last thing he was expecting. Our pale blue dot is in their sights, and this time Earth's old defenses won't work. Find out who you can really trust. The invasion begins now. The Marvel Universe, no, it doesn't work.
I do note there's a variant cover by Giuseppe Camagoli. That might be nice. Do you think this is resolicited in line with the TV series?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think the TV show got slightly delayed, and therefore it would make sense to try and maximize that publicity with a corresponding series. So that makes complete sense to me. We already had a little bit of a spider corner with Dark Web and so forth, but again, like DC with Batman, Marvel with Spider-Man. So a few other Spidey titles just to tell you about. One I wanted to showcase just because it's a great one for all readers. This one's called Peter Parker and Miles Morales, Spider-Man Double Trouble. So it's going to be a 4-issue miniseries written by Mariko Tamaki, who did a great run recently in Detective Comics over at DC, and Vita Ayala, and the artist on it is Guru Hiru. And again, this is a 4-issue mini. They're friends, heroes, and sidekicks. Peter has dragged Miles into Take Your Sidekick to Work Day of the Miles. I'm interested in this already. And Miles is not amused. They're both Spider-Man after all. So when Peter makes a mistake that unleashes villainous shenanigans on New York City, it's up to Miles to save the day and prove who the true sidekick among the Spider-Men is. Vita Ayala joins fan favorite team that brought you Spider-Man and Venom Double Trouble and Thor and Loki Double Trouble for a brand new adventure. So again, just sounds a lot of fun, and it's always nice when there are titles that we can recommend to sort of under 12s, 6 to 12-year-olds, that kind of thing. Because I always say to people in the store, kids 12 and over can read nearly anything, certainly anything Marvel aside from maybe Punisher and, maybe to a degree Venom, things like that. But it's nice to have those stuff aimed at slightly younger readers as well, but that still have enough charm that they would appeal to us as well. But some other Spidey stuff, I believe.
Yeah, we're dipping, as you say, back into the Spidey side of the universe. I mention it just because, but we had mentioned Amazing Spider-Man number 14 earlier on with the Dark Web stuff. But Amazing Spider-Man number 13, which does have art by John Romita Jr., is also the birth of the Golden Goblin. So first appearance there. Don't tell the speculators, pick it up yourself. What else have we got on the Spider side of things? There was Spider-Man: The Last Hunt, another 5-issue miniseries by established and legendary J.M. DeMatteis, again writer, so that established writer, and art by Eder Macias. The origins of Kraven finally revealed. J.M. DeMatteis, continues to spin new webs within the past. This time partnered with artist Eder Macias, revealing secrets and answering mysteries Spider fans have been waiting for. Prepare to explore the depths of what made Kraven the hunter, the powerhouse villain he was. As Peter and Mary Jane prepare for new lives in Portland, a man from Kraven's past stalks them. But who is this mystery man, and what does he want with Spider-Man? Find out when we return to the time period after Spider-Man: The Final Adventure, when Peter Parker was Partis, which was whenever Ben Reilly had taken over as Spider-Man. So that's me interested right there. And what else have we got? Moving away from the Spider side of the universe, just flicking a few pages on here. I see we have the second issue of Christopher Cantwell's Namor: Conquered Shores. Just to mention it, Alan.
I have a feeling you may mention Cantwell again. I just
possibly. We have a one-shot, 40 pages by Mark Russell. Now, Mark Russell he's an American writer. He wrote Prez, he wrote The Flintstones, he wrote Exit Stage Left, which was the Snagglepuss one, the Wonder Twins. He wrote Fantastic Four Life Story for Marvel. Along with some stuff he wrote, I think, Lone Ranger, the Devil's Rope for Dynamite, whenever Dynamite were doing good stuff. But we have him on Blade Vampire Nation with Miko Swayan on art I'm butchering some of these names, and I apologize. It's I don't know if it's linked with Jason Aaron's sort of ending on Avengers, because this is where Blade ended up in Avengers, but it's a deep dive into Dracula's new kingdom as established in Avengers, starring Blade, the sheriff of Vampire Nation. An assassination threatens to unravel the fledgling country and spread chaos throughout the world, but is getting rid of a nation full of bloodsuckers really is all that bad an idea? Blade himself isn't too sure. As I say, it's a one shot, some great covers there. So anything with Blade in it, and I'm there. But yeah, that one you're on for as well, Alan.
Yeah, big time. That was one of the ones that made the cut for the board. So as I was saying earlier, there was so much Marvel content this month in so many ways I could have went, but even though it is only a one shot, it's just, if you've got Blade back there again, I mean, I still maintain that Blade is one of the best movies based on a Marvel character and, well ahead of its time. I mean, if that Blade movie had come out around the MCU kicking off, you would be seeing a lot more of Blade, I think, around the MCU in one way or another.
If anyone disagrees with you, clearly those individuals are always trying to ice skate uphill.
They are, and you should never do that. Other fathers should never, ice skate uphill. So, yeah, I mean, one I wanted to highlight now, this I was tempted to put in the board, but I have to admit the title's that long, it fell by the wayside.
This was another one you got a slap on the wrist for, wasn't it?
This is. And again, it's similar to Blade in that anytime this character is forefront of a comic, you want to read it, and that is the Winter Soldier. So this is a Captain America and the Winter Soldier special. So it's written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing, who of course always are writing partners. They're working on Captain America at the moment with Sentinel of Liberty, which is the Steve Rogers based title. Artist on this is Kev Walker. Lovely cover there again. Salvador Larroca popping up an awful lot in Marvel this month as well. So for this one, this is going to be a 40-page one-shot. So power, money, machine, love, revolution. The 20th century progressed at a more rapid pace than in any other in history, but not without help from the shadows. Kev Walker joined Sentinel of Liberty writers Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing to explore the origins of Captain America's newest foe and what the Outer Circle's next play means for the status of the Winter Soldier. So yeah, same again. Winter Soldier is just not in enough comics for my liking. So when he pops up, that's always going to be going straight onto the old pull list. But take it away. Let's hear your long soliloquy about the next title.
I can't. Well, I mean, you're over introducing it here, Alan. I think you're doing it deliberately, but it's Iron Man 25, which is Legacy issue 650, and most importantly, it is Christopher Cantwell's finish, the conclusion of his brilliant run on the book. He's joined by Kurt Busiek and Murewa Ayodele. Angel Unzueta, who is the illustrator on his run, Benjamin Dewey and Dotun Akande. We've got a cover by Alex Ross. We've got some variant covers. It's an oversized celebration of the Golden Avengers 650th issue. It's Iron Man Day in New York City, but not everyone is ready to celebrate the ongoing legacy of Tony Stark. Not Alan, but least of all himself. But a sudden crisis will once again test Tony's heroism and challenge his commitment to the role he has assumed for himself. Must there be an Iron Man? Christopher Cantwell concludes his thought-provoking and powerful run. You hear those words, Alan? Thought-provoking and powerful as writer, as illustrated by Angel Unzueta. Plus, Murewa Ayodele and Dotun Akande tell a tale of Iron Man's quest to locate Thor amid the frozen wastelands of Niflheim. Kurt Busiek and Ben Dewey pair up to provide an all-new vintage Iron Man adventure from the distant past, featuring Madame Mask and the Radioactive Man, and get a special glimpse of what's coming next for the Armored Avenger. 56 pages, beautiful cover, and the end to an absolutely phenomenal run on the character. So I will get you to read the run, and you will enjoy it. I don't mean that.
Sounds more like a threat than anything. We'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. I'm going to flick on through the X pages, which remain pretty fantastic, and get straight on to Marvel Tales book. As you know, these are oversized reprints of specific tales involving specific characters from the past. And this is Ghost Rider Danny Ketch, Marvel Tales #1 by Howard Mackie, who was a very well-known writer on Ghost Rider in the 90s, and Javier Salters, who was the artist at the time. A new Ghost Rider hits the road. Danny Ketch takes on the classic Flaming Skull mantle and becomes a comic book icon of the 90s. In Ghost Rider 1990, #1 to 2 and 3, when Danny and his sister Barbara are caught in the crossfire of a gang war between the Kingpin's men and the deadly Death Watch, Danny finds a mysterious and familiar motorcycle cycle that will save his life and change it forever. Evildoers beware, because the spirit of vengeance is coming for you. And if his chains don't get you, his penance there will. But will Deathwatch and his vampiric ally Blackout provide a violent end to Danny's heroic journey before it truly begins? The 90s Ghost Riders adventures through Hellfire start here. 104 pages, well worth picking up if you're not familiar with Danny Rand, or indeed if you are. And Blackout, I think, just appeared in the last issue of Ghost Rider that I read. Benjamin Percy's run on Ghost Rider is just class. So there's plenty more going on in the heroes section: Daredevil, Punisher, Strange, Moon Knight, The Fantastic She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. Shang-Chi, all of that good stuff. But I want to take you straight into Star Wars corner. We're going through Predator and Alien, and straight on to the first issue of Star Wars Yoda by Cavan Scott. Cavan Scott, best known for his work on Doctor Who stuff, Star Wars stuff, Viking, Sherlock Holmes, and most recently Star Wars High Republic. He's a British comic book writer. I think he did scripting for some of the Big Finish audiobooks, Highlander, Black 7, maybe some of the Doctor Who stuff. But he's certainly been making a name for himself in comics of late. But anyway, he's kicking off Star Wars Yoda with Nico Leon on art and a Phil Noto cover. All new adventures for the greatest Jedi of all time. To some, he was a legend. To others, he was a teacher. Now Yoda is all but forgotten, living in exile and haunted by the past. As a strangely familiar voice echoes through the swamps of Dagobah, Yoda must revisit the many lessons he has given over the years, from the days of the High Republic to the chaos of the Clone Wars. In the first of 3 story arcs, a desperate cry for help reaches the Jedi Council on Coruscant, and only Yoda can respond. But how far will he go to protect a community from attack? It's 40 pages. I guess it's an ongoing. It seems quite unclear. It doesn't look to be a one-shot, but there we go. Certainly the Obi-Wan book has been great. And that's Obi-Wan looking back on his life. So if this is anything like that,
I've been enjoying that. I'm not the biggest Star Wars corner guy.
yeah,
But yeah, as you say, this does say in the first of 3 story arcs. So as you said, sounds like
could be 3, yeah, absolutely. Or whether that's 3 stories in the one book, I don't know. Anyway, quickly following that, we have Star Wars Hidden Empire, number 1 of 5 by Charles Soule, who is the captain of the Star Wars universe, art by Steve Cummings. We've got a battle variant cover by our friend Declan Shelby. And this is the 3rd trilogy of the that started with War of the Bounty Hunters and then went into Crimson Reign. The mysterious syndicate Crimson Dawn and its leader, Lady Kira, have become the galaxy's most wanted criminals, as Emperor Palpatine realizes the scope of Kira's plans against him and moves to destroy her. But Kira still has tricks up her sleeve. With the help of the Knights of Ren and many other allies, she will not go down without a fight. So 5 issues, 40 pages. The first 2 of these miniseries set, within the ongoing have been phenomenal. I guess probably some of the ongoing titles will cross into this, but I've never been so glad as to listen to you whenever you told me to watch Solo, because it absolutely prepared me for it. Introduced Kira, and absolutely it was enjoyable in itself. And it really led into all of this sort of stuff. So thank you again for that.
Arguably for me, the best modern Star Wars movie. I think it was not afraid to take risks storytelling wise. It introduced different ends to the galaxy. It wasn't wrapped up in Skywalker mythology.
Yeah.
And I think it just suffered for the simple fact that it wasn't Harrison Ford as Han Solo. And that itself is really annoying that, Star Wars fans are like, oh no, we don't need someone else as this actor. They've no problem with the Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. No, it's
a different guy to Alec Guinness.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%. But it was just, I guess it was maybe review bombed or badly reviewed or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad I watched it, but not least because it prepared me for War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign, and introduced Kira, who has become a fantastic Star Wars character. We also sticking with our Star Wars corner. We have Star Wars Revelations number 1. It's a one-shot by writer Mark Guggenheim with art by Salvador Larroca. There's his name again. I'm so glad he is back amongst the regular Marvel artists, Paco Medina and more. There's a cover again by Phil Noto and a variant cover by your friend Peach Momoko. a variety of other stuff. This is the can't miss Star Wars issue of the year. After War of the Bounty Hunters came Crimson Reign, and now in the midst of Hidden Empire, Kira has shaken the galactic landscape to its core. But what lies beyond for the rebellion, for the Empire? What role do the bounty hunters play, and what is happening to Dr. Aphra? Witness the next step in the legacy of heroes and scoundrels in the galaxy far, far away. As Mark Guggenheim, who dipped into this corner of the universe with Han Solo and Chewbacca, is joined by a ragtag team of artists to bring you an explosive tale you won't soon forget. The path to the future of Star Wars starts here. Interesting. So that's Star Wars Revelations #1, 56-page one shot, and I'm not done quite yet because moving to a slightly different science fiction franchise. And let me see if I can actually let me just check here. It does look like some of these are crossing into to Hidden Empire, some of the ongoing Star Wars books, but those have gone quite well. So yeah, crossing into another franchise, we have, and I know this is one you were saying that you're not terribly familiar with.
I mean, seen the original movies, seen the more recent movies. It's just never been a fandom I've deep dove into. I never felt the need to certainly read comics regarding this particular franchise, but you're about to tell me why I should.
Well, we've got Planet of the Apes Adventures, the original Marvel Years omnibus by writer Doug Moench, the creator of Moon Knight, no less, and penciled by George Tuska and Alfredo Alcala. The simian sci-fi staple in the mighty Marvel manner relive the classic films Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes as the Marvel's 1970 color comic adaptations are collected in one action-packed volume. When a crew of astronauts crash lands on a strange and desolate world, they discover a society of apes with heightened intelligence and speech, and here a race of mute humans are their slaves. Can the mission's leader, Taylor, fight his way free and hold on to his humanity? What is the shocking secret of the Planet of the Apes? And what unfathomable danger lies beneath the surface? Find out when a second spaceship makes its way to this uncanny world and another astronaut faces a battle for survival with the fate of the entire planet at stake. It collects the adventures of the Planet of the Apes, #1 to 11. And all I can say is it's a madhouse.
That would play so much better to someone who knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the I loved the original Planet of the Apes movies, and also the TV series. It used to be a Sunday morning watch for myself and my brother.
Wow.
And so I have that was a lovely TV series, and reminds me of those times. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
Absolutely. The Planet of the Apes Adventure original Marvel Years omnibus. And we're going to finish off the Marvel section with one other omnibus, and this is one I have not read. I'm guessing you probably have.
I have, yes, indeed.
What you have, because it's X-Men. And the reason I'm interested in this is because of the creative talent involved. So anyone who's listened to the pod on numerous occasions knows I'm a fan of a certain strange Scotsman, otherwise known as Grant Morrison. He has, for me, one of the most diverse and interesting and wacky minds in comics. But he also writes some of the most iconic runs. I just picked up this week the Animal Man omnibus, and this is one that's solicited for Marvel that I've never read, but very much will be picking this up, and that is the new X-Men omnibus. So written by Grant Morrison, involves artists such as Frank Quitely, Lino Yu, John Paul Leon, Phil Jimenez, Chris Bacalo, Mark Silvestri. So tons of great talent involved there. So Grant Morrison's wildly innovative X-Men saga returns. The X-Men, reimagined with a new look and a new mission, must face weird new threats, including evil twins, organ harvesters, sentient bacteria, rebellious mutant youth, power-enhancing street drugs, and living weapons. Yep, this sounds like Grant Morrison. By wicked telepath Emma Frost and the mysterious powerhouse Zorn, the X-Men go public, expanding Xavier's school to train a new generation of mutants, including the insect-like Angel, the bird boy Beak, the living sandstorm Dust, and eerie telepathic quintuplets, the Stepford Cuckoos. And as secondary mutations alter familiar mutants, the team is tested when Emma Frost sets her seductive sights on Cyclops. The all-consuming Phoenix threatens to rise again, and shocking traitors plot the destruction of everything the X-Men have accomplished. So this covers New X-Men 2001, 114 to 154, so there's a good 40 issues, plus the annual #1 as well. A mammoth 1,120 pages. And as I was reading through that, I could just see in my peripheral vision Keith nodding along with it. This sounds like it's a better run than you remember, maybe.
It is. It was. I mean, it was very. It was Grant Morrison, so definitely controversial. There was a lot of new stuff introduced that has been kept around, um, and there was the new costumes and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, definitely worth it. I mean, I would certainly pick it up and reread it. In fact, whenever I get my collection up to the house, it might be a run that I pull out and reread.
Yeah, excellent to hear. So yeah, just anything Morrison, I just tend to jump on, and I've always heard good stuff about that new X-Men run. So I will definitely be jumping on that as I say. So that brings a mammoth Marvel section to an end.
Was chunky, wasn't it?
It was very chunky. So we'll move away from there and we'll finish off as we always do by going through the frankly massive previews book, but we go through it so you don't have to. And we break it down in the publisher, of course. And we're going to kick things off as expected with Image Comics.
Yes, indeed. And we have a series premiere again of Scotty Young's much appreciated I Hate Fairyland #1. It is obviously it's starting again. There are and they've offered again the I Hate Fairyland original volume #1 to 4 and a few other bits and pieces. But Eisner Award-winning writer Scotty Young, Middle West, Twig, the Me You Love in the Dark. What is not to love about that list? And artist Brett Bean of Marvel's Rocket and Groot bring back the hit comic I Hate Fairyland for an all-new ongoing series. Everyone's favorite green-haired axe-wielding crazed maniac returns in this Deadpool meets Alice in Wonderland styled adventure. Gert is all grown up and living in the real world. Times are tough, and the only job she's qualified for is her trying to make her way back to the place she hates the most, Fairyland. A campy joyride for readers with dark sense of humor, deadpan Deadpool comedic timing paired with an offbeat Alice in Wonderland world building. Yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning because Scotty Young, and I mean, I haven't got a lot of experience of I Hate Fairyland, but looks really interesting. The art here is fantastic. So worth a look. Your experience with I Hate Fairyland?
I own the first hardcover, never read it. Similar to yourself, I mean, anything. I think Scotty Young's been on a hell of a run in the last couple of years between Middle West and Me Love in the Dark and Strange Academy, and he's been writing some really, really good stuff. And I Hate Fairyland seemed to kick off that creator-owned urge, so
Yeah.
I'll definitely
Yep.
jump into it at some point. As I say, I have the first hardcover, I just haven't got to it just yet.
Are you enjoying Twig?
I am, you know what?
Yeah.
I have the feeling though it's only 5 issues, which I
Yeah.
think surprises me. I mean, I remember that with Middle West, 18 issues seemed short, so 5 issues seems even short.
Yeah. It's very Bone-esque, which is always a good thing.
And Bone
So
was certainly not 5 issues.
oh, certainly not. Certainly not. So flicking on through the image section, we come to Hell to Pay. And this was the image gives you the little idea box which tells you it's what meets what.
Yeah,
Well, this one was the one that grabbed me, and it's Hellboy meets Indiana Jones in this supernatural adventure, perfect for fans of the Magicians and the Devil's Advocate. And that is Hell to Pay #1 by Charles Soule and Cork's own Will Sliney. So we have it's action adventure. It's a series premiere, and the Shrouded College will give you magic, but you'll incur a debt. Oh, where have we heard that before? That's Doctor Strange right there. Until it's paid, you belong to them. Married couple Maya and Sebastian Stone took that deal. They have worked for the college ever since, using their new abilities to track down 666 cursed coins. Korak, aka the Devil's Dollar. Only a few remain. The stones are almost free, but the devil's in the details. As it says, Hellboy meets Indiana Jones in this supernatural adventure from Charles Soule, 8 Billion Genies, an Undiscovered Country, and Will Sliney, Spider-Man. You're interested in this as well, I trust.
well, very much so. I mean, again, that image box has just brought us both right in. Indiana
Mm-hmm.
Jones, Hellboy, that's the sweet spot. So yeah, I'll definitely be jumping on that. And of course, Will Sliney, local artist who did amazing stuff over lockdown, helping people learn how to draw, aiming it specifically at younger artists and so forth, did some great work there and worked that up from like a YouTube show to an actual network show. So
That's right. Yeah.
but it's nice to see his passion for comics is still there. He hasn't been lost to the world of, daytime entertainment. One of the big ones for me from Image, I thought this looked incredible. Now, this is one that when you see the preview art, there's no way you're not going to want to be on this. And that's not too surprising because the artist on this who is also writing is Lorenzo De Felici, who, of course, was the artist on Oblivion Song.
Oh, Oblivion Song, yeah, absolutely.
So,
And recently finished, and what a series.
yeah, 36 issues Oblivion Song with Robert Kirkman, of course. But now he's went on and is doing a 4-issue miniseries through Image. Now, I'm wondering if every issue is going to be oversized as well because issue 1 is 56 pages. You look at the preview art for this and it's absolutely incredible. So, imprisoned in a tower within the walls of the Pale City, Chroma, which is the name of the title, name of the series, sorry, is believed to be the most evil creature alive, but a chance meeting with the mysterious orphan Zet creates an opportunity for Chroma to escape her cruel fate. That is, if they can survive the strange dangers within the city walls and the monstrous threats that lie beyond. Writer-artist Lorenzo De Felici creates a breathtaking adventure like none other, filled with strange creatures and unparalleled beauty in a colorful world unlike anything ever seen in comics. Again, I can't overstate how beautiful a title that looks to be. The next one up I'm going to chat about is one that I've never read this, but I've heard nothing but amazing things. It's a multi-Eisner Award-winning title through Image Comics from David F. Walker and Chuck Brown with art by Sanford Green, and it's a title called Bitter Root. As I say, multiple Eisner Award winning. It was 15 issues long and also had a one-shot special as well. So it's all being collected into one omnibus, and Image have been doing this for a few things recently. They're collecting the Spawn series together. They've collected things like Firepower into these volumes, that kind of thing. So for this one, Bitter Root is for generations, the Sangir family has fought to protect the world from the evil plague of the Jinnu, hideous creatures born out of hate and racism. But now the family must face an even greater evil that has arisen to destroy humanity and threatens to rip the family apart. So again, that contains all 3 trade paperbacks put into one glorious omnibus, so everything all in one place. And again, multiple Eisner Award winning is definitely a good sign. So I will definitely be on that.
Very cool. Couple more Image books from me. One is the first of a 6-issue miniseries by Doug Wagner with art by Daniel Hilliard. Serial killing cannibalistic furries. Plastic and vinyl creators Doug Wagner and Daniel Hilliard are back. This time they've recruited colorist extraordinaire Rico Renzi for their disturbing neon horror spin into fursuit psychopaths and bizarre love. In Plush, Devin Fulcher is coerced into attending his first furry convention. When he accidentally happens upon a group of furries devouring a human, the insanity begins. Do they want Devin for dinner or something much more wicked? Not for me, but maybe for someone. What is absolutely for me, and I think is worth mentioning, is Philadelphia number 25, one of our favorite series by Rodney Barnes and Sean Alexander, both of whom we interviewed somewhere along the pod trail. And the reason I mention it is because we love new story arcs and jumping on points. And if you can find a jumping on point for this series, then you're doing rightly. This is There's No Place Like Home Part 1. It is the perfect jumping on point for new readers. The sold-out Eisner Award-nominated horror series rages with more mind-bending twists. From Rodney Barnes, the writer behind hit shows such as Marvel's Runaway and Stars of American Gods, and Jason Alexander, the artist who redefined Spawn. Vampire King and first president of the United States, George Washington, has unified the warring vampire factions, blurring the lines between good and evil. Now Washington and company must face one of the most formidable military leaders in history, General Toussaint Louverture, and his Haitian army have been resurrected by the sight of light, and one thing only is their goal: exterminate all vampires. There's also an available noir edition featuring black and white line art interiors. But yeah, partly a perfect jumping on point. So if you're not on this, get on this.
Not only a perfect jumping on point, but an excuse to go and get the trades leading up to it. Because as Keith says, one of Image's very best titles. But it's nice to see it jumping on point for an indie title because they can be tricky. A lot of indie series tend to be long form storytelling, so jumping on points can be a little bit at a premium. So, but yeah, Philadelphia 25. So just a couple last ones just to finish off with on Image. So first of all, you have a brand new, it's an advanced solicit, admittedly. It's not out until later in the year. It is solicited for the December release rather than November. But it's called, there must be James Bond producers out there somewhere raging that this title has been taken to death to die. a Simon Cross thriller. So this looks to be an original graphic novel in the same vein of what Brubaker and Phillips have been doing with Reckless. And this one has a pretty good creative team as well. Mark Guggenheim writing and Howard Chaykin on art. So it's noir and it's spy. So it's right up my alley. Writer artist team Guggenheim and Chaykin reunite for an all new original that brings classic spy novels to the modern world. In the 1980s, Simon Cross was America's top super spy. Today, his past has come out back to haunt him, forcing him out of retirement for one final adventure. So again, it's very, genre specific. It's very noir. It's very one last job, that kind of thing. So again, right up my alley. And the other one I'm going to mention is just with a heavy heart, but all good things must come to an end, and this month sees the solicitation for the November 2nd release of the final volume of Deadly Class. A moment of silence, please. Okay, silence observed. So this is volume 12, which is finishing Deadly Class off, it's a run up to 56 issues. I think for any independent comic to reach that level is usually a testament to the quality of it. So again, this is the last one. Rick Remender writing, Wes Craig on art, Lee Lockridge on colors, the same way it's been the whole way through it. There's nothing more beautiful than a total retreat from reality with someone you love in a place where you can leave behind all the noise, greed, and hate for a quiet and simple life. But does such a place truly exist? And if it does, how could the rabid monsters not come to destroy it? A final lap around the track with the outcasts of Generation X as everything they ever predicted comes true. In terms of single issues, Deadly Class has one left, so the next one that comes out will be the series finale. There will be tears.
you think you nearly teared up the day whenever we were talking about it, and I said, "But it's over," and you were like, "It's not over. There's one more issue left."
Had to very quickly, confirm that there was still one issue left. So, but yeah, I mean, there's tons more great stuff in the Image book. Again, again, pop in the store and have a look, or look up the solicitations online. It's just there's way too many for us to mention, but we'll move away from there and highlight a couple of titles through Boom, because they have a pretty strong month this as well. And I'd spoken there very quickly about Chroma being one of the most beautiful titles of the month. This is up there as well. There's 3 pages of previews art for this. It's a series called Behold Behemoth. It's a brand new #1. There's going to be 5 issues in total. This is written by Tate Brombal, who's been working on House of Slaughter, I think, with James Tynion, and drawn by Nick Robles. So a brand new original series, perfect for fans of House of Slaughter and Gideon Falls. Again, you're hitting my sweet spot. House of Slaughter's Tate Brombal brings his first original series to Boom Studios alongside red hot artist Nick Robles, who'd worked on The Dreaming Waking Hours. Grayson's world is crumbling following his brother's sudden and mysterious death. His sleepless nights are haunted by vivid nightmares of a terrifying monster, pushing him to the brink of losing both his sanity and his job as a social worker. But he's truly shaken to the core when his newest case, a young orphan girl named Wren, is found at the scene of a brutal murder just hours after first meeting Grayson. The line between nightmare and waking life blurs as Grayson soon discovers that the monster from his dreams might just be real, a mythical ancient beast that is bringing about the end of the world with shocking connections to both him and Wren. I mean, if I hold up this sort of double page spread, and again, check this out if you get a chance in the store, it's just an absolutely gorgeous looking title, very unique panel layouts, beautiful colors. Yeah, that is right up my alley. That's up there for me this month, and I'm pretty sure it made the board. So that's the ultimate compliment.
Sticking with Boom, then we have their gem of the month, or Diamond's gem of the month, one of them anyway. One of the longest titles of the month as well, with Once Upon a Time at the end of the word #1. And this is written by a name that may be familiar with you from the Marvel book earlier, Jason Aaron, and illustrated by Alexandre Tefengi, who may be familiar with you from The Good Asian, which was a fantastic series earlier on this year, I believe. Jason Aaron, Alexander Tefengi, and Lee Lockridge kick off a decades-spanning tale of survival in the wasteland. 32 pages, and it's an end of November release. In this epic post-apocalyptic tale, Makio and Meze have never met anyone like each other, and they need all the help they can get to survive a planet ravaged by environmental catastrophe. This epic trilogy, each issue overflowing with 30-page story, spans a lifetime as philosophical differences tear at the threads holding Makio and Meze together. Will they and the earth beneath their feet ultimately be torn apart? New York Times best-selling Eisner and Harvey Award-winning and Marvel flagship writer Jason Aaron, Thor, The Avengers, Southern Bastards, launches his most ambitious creator-owned series to date with the first of three unique artistic partners, Eisner Award-winning artist Alexander Tefenkgi, the Good Asian, to take on a vision of the end of the world that's brutal, nostalgic, whimsical, grounded, and ultimately timeless. Wow.
I mean, I love me some Jason Aaron indie stuff, but can you please go back and finish off Southern Bastards, please, Jason? And I will keep saying it on this podcast, which of course you don't listen to until it actually manifests itself into reality. But yeah, that looks fantastic. You know, they've obviously led that with the front of the previews book as well as one of the big titles of the month. So
and three issues with rotating artists. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but at the same time, it's a little bit disappointing only because Alexandre Tefenkgi did such great work with the Good Asian. When I saw them doing this, that was a big selling point for me. But I'm sure we'll be artists of equal stature or standing and skill. So
absolutely,
definitely one to look forward to. Another boom title that stuck out this month is Specs. Brand new number 1 of 4, and this is one that you may notice the cover looks a little familiar. Little nod to John Carpenter's They Live right there.
And tell me again who's writing this?
And this is David Embor writing this. So of course,
our buddy, yeah.
Another one we've interviewed in the pod. God, people are going to start thinking, and there's nepotism or something going on.
I'd love to get a chat to David again, actually, I have to say.
But yeah, it's just this is written by David Embor. Of course, we were introduced to his work through Canto primarily. Chris Sheehan on art for this one, who of course has been doing the art for House of Slaughter as well. So again, keeping it in the boom in house. So this says it's a supernatural 80s throwback, perfect for fans of Stranger Things and Stephen King. In this mysterious new series, what happens when a couple of misfit teens mail order a pair of X-ray glasses and realize they've received much more than they bargained for? But all Kenny and Ted want is to not feel like outcasts in their own small Ohio town. Their world is turned upside down when the magic specs they receive unlock a world of possibilities. Their wishes start out innocent enough, but when they wish that their bully would disappear, well, things take a cursed turn with far darker consequences than they thought possible. So yeah, some lovely variant covers here as well, obviously playing on the glasses a lot. As I say, a wee homage to They Live with the main cover, I believe, as well. So I'd be jumping on that.
Yeah, I think I'll be on that myself. For me, we're going back to Joss Whedon's Firefly universe with, I think it's a one-shot, Alan, called Firefly Keep Flying #1. Now that's in tandem with the self-same David Embor's all new Firefly ongoing series. It's written by Jeff Jensen and illustrated by Nikolai Izo. Says, find a crew, get a job, keep flying. Those words of wisdom take on surprising new meaning for River many years in the future. While she relied on her family on the spaceship Serenity in more ways than anyone truly understood, an outrageous adventure will push River to her limits and will take a new chosen family to get her through it. Her determination to keep flying and the lessons the Serenity taught her is what will keep River going to stranger horizons than anyone thought possible.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the Firefly stuff, it seems to be of a very high quality every time, doesn't it? Wasn't David Embor writing Firefly as well at one point, or was it just a one shot?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. It's all new Firefly is his ongoing series.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's there's a few guys in store reading Firefly, and they continue to, speak very, very highly of it, to say the least.
It is fantastic.
But yeah, that's the Boom Studios, and we'll move on then just to Dark Horse. Just a couple to tell you about quickly. The first one is a new Brian Michael Bendis series, which is called The Ones. It's going to be a 4-issuer. Again, Bendis writing, Jacob Edgar on art. So from award-winning writer Brian Michael Bendis comes the next best awesome super team to end all super teams, The Ones. Every single person in every mythology that was told that they were the one are brought together for the first time to defeat the one, the actual one, the real actual one. This amazing new vision is brought to life by wonderkind artist and co-creator Jacob Edgar, who's worked on Batman, Army of Darkness. Watch as he brings his explosive comic splendor to this big new world. Think Good Omens meets Ghostbusters, meets the Adam Project, meets the Goonies, meets everything everywhere all at once. Anything else you've ever liked. That's quite a solicitation.
Quite.
But yeah, as I say, brand new Bendis series. He seems to be primarily focused on Dark Horse stuff these days. There. And then the other thing to mention with Dark Horse is that Kevin Smith is starting his own imprint through Dark Horse Comics. So he's going to be releasing several titles. And the first one here seems to be based on primarily on Clerks, and on the characters of Jen, Silent Bob. So this is called Quick Stops. So it's going to be number 1 of 4. I mean, the iconography of the cover will be familiar to anyone familiar with the Kevin Smith movies, of course. So written by Kevin Smith with art by Jeremy Simser. Enter the Askew universe, where in pop culture nuisance, great description. Kevin Smith's brand new anthology series opens for business, telling tall tales from the
Sorry,
Jersey world.
let me stop you there. So that pop culture nuisance came from, I think it was one of the comic cons that Kevin Smith attended recently,
Mm-hmm.
and they introduced him as such and such an all around pop culture nuisance, and he got a wee bit offended until he realized whenever, he was like, "You invite me to this, and then you sort of describe me as that." He said he didn't say anything because he's a nice guy. But it wasn't until later he realized that whenever he was stoned, that was the intro he had sent them for himself.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry, Alan, I didn't mean to spoil your flow there.
Oh, I'm more than happy to jump up out of the way for a little bit of trivia. But yeah, so with this one, yeah, your pop culture nuisance, Kevin Smith's brand new anthology series opens for business, telling tall tales from the Jersey world of his classic comedies. In this premiere issue, Chronic Con guest of honor Holden McNeil tells Alyssa Jones and a packed podcast audience his story of going green with legendary loiterers Jen, Silent Bob, and the Quick Stop Cooler, and how it directly led to the birth of his Bluntman and Chronic comic books. So yeah, they just look like fun. I mean, for me, that's Kevin Smith's best era. I'm not a huge fan of the horror stuff he did later on, but some of those early movies are genuinely really good movies. Clerks, Dogma, Chasing Amy. Jen, Silent Bob was a lot of fun. Mallrats gets a bad rep, but is actually very good. So I'll definitely be jumping on that because that's a bit of a throwback to the golden era. I can already see them taking the mick out of pop finals in the preview art. So again, I'm on their side.
So we move on to Strangely. Dynamite's continuing efforts to get me to buy their books. And in this case, they're teaming up Tarzan with Dan Jurgens, who we mentioned earlier as the writer of Fantastic Superman 75, The Death of Superman, for DC. And we have Lord of the Jungle #1, another one of Diamond's Gems of the Month, as I said, by Dan Jurgens. Artist is Benito Gallego. 32 pages, action adventure. At long last, the Lord of the Jungle returns to comics. One of the most famous and recognizable characters in the history of fiction is back, starting with an adventure that returns us to the days before his birth, as well as a time later in life than before his birth, when a past wrong must be made right, no matter what manner of beast or obstacle stands in Tarzan's way. From acclaimed writer Dan Jurgens, Death of Superman, Spider-Man, Thor, Booster Gold, Justice League, and so many more, comes a tale that wraps the familiar with something brand new. With epic art by Tarzan New Adventures online comic strip artist Benito Gallego, this is sure to be a book that delivers Tarzan for Bat fans both old and new. Interesting.
Tarzan in the modern world with a classic creator. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it's from Dynamite, so hopes are not high.
There's an interview in the previews catalog here with Dan Jurgens about Tarzan, so I'm interested in getting a wee read at that.
Cool. So we move from Dynamite and over to Aftershock, and a couple of titles here. One from me, one from Keith, the one from myself. I'm a big fan of the writer John Lees. He did a great book called Sync through Comics Tribe, which is a great horror-based book. He recently did a great wrestling book called The Crimson Cage, which mixed wrestling with horror for AWA Studios. He's now writing for Aftershock, and this is a new title called The Last Ride of Pillar and Pride. So written by John Lees, art by Joe Mulvey. When Brian Pillar and Eli Pride were kids, they did something incredible. They saved a girl's life and stopped a madman. They were heroes, but that was a long time ago. Now, with their career as young adult adventure novelists in decline and their friendship in similar dire straits, the pair embark on a road trip back to their old hometown in hopes of rekindling their friendship. But a new evil has emerged in the town of Tarragon Falls. Can Pillar and Pride be heroes once again? Written by John Lees and illustrated by Joe Mulvey, lifelong friends embark on a road trip. Why would that just repeat the exact same thing?
Why would you just read it?
On a road trip back to Tarragon Falls, where evil has set up camp. Yeah, I'm a big fan of John Lees. He's a Scottish writer. I met him at Thought Bubble last year as well. He's a very nice guy, very knowledgeable, and also a big wrestling fan. So he gets
okay. There we go. Very, very nice. There seems to be a lot of new evils about this month. I
It's
feel like
almost like
it's
things will never be the same again.
yes, quite. For me, from Aftershock, we have Fear of a Red Planet #1 by Mark Sable on writing and Andre Olimpieri on art. It's a featured item. Mars, 50 years from now, humanity's first Martian colony is no longer self-sustaining. Under the thumb of its corporate mining overlords, the surviving colonists slave away just to pay for resupply rockets from Earth, with little or no hope of returning home. One woman has kept a fragile peace, the UN's first and only interplanetary marshal. Uh, a law woman escaping a violent past on Earth, she prides herself on never having fired a shot on Mars. But when she's tasked with solving the murder of the colony's most hated man, her investigation threatens to tear the red planet apart. Written by Mark Sable, writer of Miskatonic and Currently Where Starships Go Today, and illustrated by Andrea Olimpieri, Dishonored and Dark Souls. Fear of a Red Planet is a near future Western with a hard sci fi of The Expanse and a hard boiled gunslinging of Justified. So, yep, I'm in. I'm in.
Yep, you're all about the Red Planet at the moment, aren't you? Because we moved from Fear of the Red Planet to Traveling to Mars. This is a new one from Ablaze Studios that you had highlighted, and there's that name again, Mark Russell.
Yes, absolutely. He appears again, and I do appreciate you rapping there while I flicked pages to get to what I was looking for. As you say, another
Well-oiled
feature. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
well-oiled machine.
Uh, so, as you say, from Ablaze, featured item, traveling to Mars #1. Got a great cover of of a of an electric guitar on the surface of Mars. As you say, it is by Mark Russell, who we mentioned previously. He was writing a couple of things for Marvel earlier on, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what. It's mature comics, 16 and up, science fiction, action, adventure. Mark Russell, Not All Robots, and a variety of other bits and pieces. Oh yeah, sorry, Flintstones and the Snagglepuss
Blade
Chronicles.
Vampire Nation was the
That's the one. Thank you. From Eisner Award winner Mark Russell and hot new talent Roberto Melli comes a compelling new sci-fi series. Traveling to Mars tells the story of a former pet store manager, Roy Livingstone, the first human to ever set foot in Mars. Roy was chosen for this unlikely mission for one simple reason: he's terminally ill and therefore has no expectation of returning. Roy is joined in this mission to Mars by Leopold and Albert, two Mars rovers equipped with artificial intelligence, who look upon the dying pet store manager as a sort of god. Against the backdrop of not only his waning days, but those of human civilization as well, Roy has ample time to think about where things went wrong for both them and what it means to be a dying god. A riveting story of planetary explanation and finding meaning in your final days. Interesting.
intriguing indeed. So yeah, traditional comic right there from Ablaze. But the next thing we're actually going to highlight is a reference book. Now, this wouldn't happen often, we have to say. We're not a reference book recommending kind of podcast, but we saw this and we had to showcase it.
Absolutely. It's from Day Street Books. It's the kick-ass book of Cobra Kai hardcover, written by Rachel Bershi. The kick-ass book of Cobra Kai is a master it's a master sensei guiding readers through the karate crazed San Fernando Valley, with never before seen photographs and illustrations and exclusive interviews with Ralph Macchio, Daniel LaRusso, William Zakpa, Johnny Lawrence, Martin Cove, John Kreese, Zola Meradino, Miguel, Mary Meiser, Samantha, and much, much more. Journey through the deceptively humble strip mall that houses Cobra Kai, the magical backyard retreat of Miyagi-Do, and the abandoned factory used for an aggressive eagle fang training. And the show's creators will give an unprecedented look inside the writing, directing, and production of the franchise that has grown from a scrappy underdog to a global phenomenon. Worth a look, I think.
I think you can see why we were talking about a reference book right there. I mean, yeah, Cobra Kai is just it's a great story. I mean, Keith was banging on about it for a year or two back when it was a YouTube original about how great it was. We were all slow to the tail ourselves, but once it jumped on the Netflix, we were completely hooked, and we're delighted to say that on the 9th of September the new series launches, so just over a week until that. So just a couple to finish off with. I'm sure you're bored at the sound of our voices by now, but again, this gives an indication of the sheer wealth and volume of stuff in the previews books, that these are just the best things we picked out. But I just wanted to showcase there's a new comic publisher starting this month, which is Frank Miller Presents. Frank Miller, of course, is a name synonymous with comics, synonymous with great Marvel stuff, especially through Daredevil, synonymous with great DC stuff, especially through Batman, synonymous with, Sin City, with Ronin, with all kinds of great, great stuff. He's had varied output in the last maybe 10 or 15 years, but there's no denying that for a good 10 to 20 year period, he was one of the top guys in the industry. So he's starting off his own imprint, which is called Frank Miller Presents. Now, in the previous book, there's two titles which I'll chat about, but there's two little sort of small mission statements here. The first is by Frank Miller himself, who says, Dan DiDio, Celine Thomas, and I couldn't be more proud launching Frank Miller Presents, which will serve as fertile ground for storytellers and new creations. Our focus for the publishing company is to cultivate a fellowship of artists and writers to mentor, collaborate, and push forward not only each other, but the art form as well. Investing in artists in the future of comics has always been my one true passion and creative calling. And then Dan DiDio, of course, is acting as publisher for this new imprint, or this new publishing company. We're on a mission to create books for people to read and enjoy. It's remembering what we love about the art form and storytelling and bringing to today's audience. This is an exciting time for me. I almost forgot how much fun it was to make comics. That seems like a little dig at DC, but well, but yeah, the two books that they're launching with this month are, one will be familiar to fans of Frank Miller, and the other's an all new original title. So the Frank Miller one is Ronin Book 2. So written by Frank Miller, and the artists on this are Philip Tan and Daniel Henriquez. Frank Miller returns to one of his most critically praised and influential body of works, Ronin. The six-part miniseries follows the original work and takes Casey and her newborn son across the ravaged landscape of America. With layouts by Miller, the beautiful panoramic art by Philip Tan and Daniel Henriquez captures all of the energy and excitement of the original series, taking the characters and world into a direction all of its own. This is not to be missed. It's interesting with Ronin because that was published through DC, so I wonder how he finagled the rights to that. But there is a brand new title which is launching this month, a brand new original one, and this is written by Dan DiDio, and the artist on this is Danilo Beyruth, and this is called Ancient Enemies. So Earth becomes the final battlefield for a centuries-old war between two alien races, but this final conflict becomes the unintentional breeding ground for a new generation of superpowers, each with the ability to influence the outcome of the war. Some superpowers choose sides, while others struggle to maintain their independence with the hope of saving the Earth. This series explodes with new characters and creations written by Dan DiDio, with design and art by the industry's newest rising star, Danilo Beyruth. So a couple of Frank Miller Presents titles to kick things off with a brand new publishing company. So we have one more thing to highlight each, and then we promise we are done. So after yourself, sir.
Well, I'm gonna stop you there and highlight a couple of things, but they're very closely related things. The first is the trade paperback of Rocketeer: The Great Race, which has been one of the most fantastic miniseries released this year, written and drawn, illustrated by Stephen Mooney. It's a continuation of the classic pulp character, the Rocketeer. Ace stunt pilot Cliff Secord has returned from his New York adventure to a West Coast steeped in paranoia over the looming war in Europe. Having finally had enough of his near-death scrapes and that, as the high-flying Rocketeer, the only thing on Cliff's crosshairs is the Great Race, a prodigious winner-takes-all air race that runs from California to France. Maybe it's finally time to smarten up and fly straight by taking his best girl Betty to Paris. But other parties want to win the race for their own nefarious ends, and Cliff will need to decide which prize is truly the most valuable. So that's the recent Rocketeer, I think it was 5-issue series by Irishman Stephen Mooney, the brains behind Half Past Danger. But one thing that has taken my notice that is a wee bit expensive, but I don't think it can look past, is Rocketeer: The Complete Adventures Deluxe Edition hardcover, writing, art, and cover art by Dave Stevens. Take flight with Cliff and Betty in the beautiful oversized collection that features the original complete comics saga. Dave Stevens' The Rocketeer burst onto the shelves of comic book shops 40 years ago. This beautifully illustrated and charming story features the adventures of down-and-out Depression-era stunt pilot Cliff Secord after he finds an experimental jetpack and takes to the skies. Intrigue abounds as Cliff finds himself fighting enemy spies and nefarious criminals, all the while trying to keep his personal life with Betty from being waylaid by his double life as the Rocketeer. This long out-of-print collection, an Eisner Award winner for Best Design, features the entire Rocketeer saga by Dave Stevens, plus more than 100 pages of supplemental material, all wrapped up in a lovely slipcase. Stephen Mooney did a retrospective and interviews on the late Dave Stevens in in the Great Race. I mean, I've always been interested in the character, primarily from the movie, and then into the comic book. So I'm really keen to sort of get my hands on the complete saga, because us comic book collectors are nothing if not completists and appreciators of lovely things.
Appreciators of nice deluxe volumes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's as you say, it's a slightly more expensive looking item, but again, out of print stuff. If you try and source that yourself in these less than deluxe editions, you'll end up paying more than that anyway, I think is the way to look at that.
Mm.
But yeah, no, that's the end of the comic book side of things. But I talk about wrestling on here enough that I had to mention this. And Diamond Select Toys goes all elite. What are they doing with that? They are releasing an AEW figure for the one, the only CM Punk. So I already have pre-orders for this, so make of that what you will. But yeah, it's a gallery PVC diorama. It's not coming out until spring of next year. So obviously it's a very much an advanced solicitation, but it's depicting the infamous sort of pipe bomb of Punk sitting, cross-legged, microphone in hands. Um, Keith, of course, doesn't watch wrestling. It's not his thing. But CM Punk, of course, did, of course, contribute to that great Jason Aaron run on Thor, writing no less than the annuals, I believe, that accompanied that run. So I just had to throw that in there. And again, as I say, the pre-orders have already started for it, which is, know your audience, know your audience. So yeah, so that is us, believe it or not. After all of that, there were some chunky books to get into there. Lots of great stuff. I suppose that's not surprising. They do tend to sort of front load the end of year, coming to the gift giving season and so on and so forth. So a lot of these titles are due November, early December. Again, hence why there's a lot for us to get through. But as ever, anything appeals to you, just get in touch with a story. Either drop in and see us. Drop us an email, coffeeandheroes@hotmail.com. Get in touch through social media, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We try to cover all bases. And just let us know anything that appeals to you. We can get those on to pull lists for you, or indeed get you set up with a pull list if you're new to all this comic ordering malarkey. So, again, hope this proves useful. Always fun going through the books. Always fun getting a little bit of a heads up of what's coming out, and just always just good fun to chat comics with you, my friend.
Indeed, and my goal for the rest of the evening is to continue through the 80 strong pile of single issues that I also have sitting, and I have no excuse because I don't have a 5 week old.
Indeed. Well, I'm going to go down and hug that 5 week old. Try and put him to sleep, and you never know, I may fit in a comic or two myself this evening. We shall see. But again, hope you guys enjoyed this. Look forward to seeing you in the store soon, and I'll look forward to recording another pod with you very soon, my good friend. So, good night and good luck.
Good night.